Hey guys, we're back with another episode of the Writing Correction Show. If you're a regular visitor, it's good to have you here, and thanks for your support. If you're new here, welcome. This week, we're reviewing an essay sent to us by Omid from Iran. Let's go check it out, guys. Okay, so as always, let's start by reviewing the topic one last time before we dive into the correction. The topic is some people believe that staying in a hotel while visiting a foreign country is not a good way to know the country and its people. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so this is an opinion essay, and let's see how Omid has approached it. We start, well, first of all, we have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And so the proportion, if you look at the proportions, the paragraphs are roughly balanced, even though this last paragraph seems to be a bit shorter than the previous two. But we'll have to take a closer look to see if that causes a problem. Let's start with the introduction, guys. So the introduction reads, according to some, staying in hotels could not be an appropriate choice to get familiar with the new country and individuals while traveling abroad. So that is the hook. Now, there are some grammar issues here. Staying in hotels could not be. Why could not? We're talking about something that's either true or it's not. So we're going to use can. Staying in hotels cannot be an appropriate choice to get familiar. Okay, don't use the verb get in formal writing. Try to avoid it because it's something that's characteristic of spoken English rather than written English. So what can we say instead? Just go with good old, plain old become. So cannot be an appropriate choice to become familiar with the new country. Okay. Do my readers know what this new country is? No, we're mentioning it for the first time. And it's any new country, right? So we want to go with A. And individuals. Okay, so individuals, like in general? No, we want to say individuals who live in that country. So let's use a pronoun here. And it's individuals while traveling abroad. Let's read this one more time. According to some, staying in hotels cannot be an appropriate choice to become familiar with a new country and its individuals. A little weird about the use of the word individuals while traveling abroad. Okay, it's not perfect. It's an improvement, but it's not perfect. And instead of individuals, let's go with and its residents, or even better, and its people. A new country and its people while traveling abroad. That's a little better, I think. I personally agree that not accommodating in hotels may improve the chance of greater exposure to the foreign country and its people. Okay, now there's a big problem with the use of the word accommodate. What does accommodate mean? Accommodate is a verb, and it's a transitive verb, meaning that you need an object. It can be used in 2 ways. Either you could use it as the room accommodates 5 people, which means the room is large enough and can house 5 people. Another way we could use the verb accommodate in a transitive sense is to say someone accommodates someone else, right? For example, you could say let's say the hotel manager has decided to accommodate the newly arrived guests, right? So someone accommodates someone. And if you look at this particular sentence, it's neither one of those. it's being used not in a transitive way. So I personally agree that not accommodating in hotels. What does that mean? Accommodating someone else in hotels or just staying in hotels? So I think you need to focus a little bit more on the way the verb accommodate needs to be should be used, Omid. So let's just go with something simple. I personally agree that not staying in hotels may improve the chance of greater exposure. Okay, now in English, normally we would say your chances of doing something, not the chance of. The chances of may improve the chances of greater exposure. Now you need a verb here, right? So what do? You receive exposure, you gain exposure. I'm going to go with gain. May improve the chances of gaining greater exposure to the foreign country and its people. Okay, so we have the hook here, and then we have the sentence where the writer's opinion has been expressed. And so structure-wise, it's a good introduction, but these language errors are plaguing the quality of the writing. Okay, let's move on to the first body paragraph. First and foremost, staying in hotels can exclude visitors from attending local areas or exploring the environment of that country. Okay, that's a main idea summarized in one sentence. The verb exclude isn't the best verb. I would just go with something like prevent, right? So first and foremost, staying in hotels can prevent visitors from attending local areas. Okay, do you attend a local area? You attend like a concert or an event, but attend local areas? No, I'll just go visiting. And you might be wondering, hey, why are you making this simple? Why are you not trying to use big fancy words? Because remember, at the end of the day, what really matters is your ability to communicate the ideas. It's not about the fancy words. It's not about the, complex structures. It's about getting the ideas across. Now, if you can use fancy words, quote unquote, appropriately, be my guest. But if you think that using these fancy words will result in even one instance of miscommunication, or if it results in one instance of the examiner or the reader pausing and having to read that sentence again, just trying to see what you're really saying, then it's not going to be worth it, because it's going to have the opposite effect. Not only is it not going to improve your score, it's going to really drag it down. So think twice before you use that fancy expression you have firmly tucked up your sleeve. Okay. So it can prevent visitors from visiting local areas or exploring the environment of that country. Although many tourists just stay in hotels for a short time during their travel, they might lose a great deal of chance to explore the country's flora and fauna, historical places, or Aboriginal cuisines. Okay. Couple of things to unpack here. Although many tourists just stay in hotels for a short time during their travel, okay, I don't know why although. Isn't that a fact? Like, statistics show that many tourists just stay in a hotel for a short period of time during their travel. Okay, so even if it's a short period of time, they still might lose. Okay, now I see what you're saying. Then maybe although is right. Although many tourists just stay in hotels for a short time during their travel, they might lose a great deal of chance. Let's say they might lose many opportunities, right, to explore the new countries. I think there's a problem with the apostrophe here. Flora and fauna, historical places, or Aboriginal cuisines. Okay, now Aboriginal. that's a little weird, because if you look up the word Aboriginal in the dictionary, it's going to tell you that Aboriginal means relating to Australian Aborigines. It means indigenous, right? But the word Aboriginal is very closely associated with the indigenous people of Australia. So it's not an appropriate word to use here. So we could say local cuisine. And cuisine tends to be uncountable. So let's, you could use cuisines in the same way you use foods. But cuisine, if you're not referring to variety, it is uncountable, and you should use it in an uncountable way. For instance, camping in local vicinities or staying in hostels with a group of tourists managed by indigenous people may result in these beneficial experiences. Again, it's all about the choice of words. Camping in local vicinities. Okay, why use the word vicinity? Because vicinity just means when you're near a place, right? In the vicinity of a venue or in the vicinity of a town, for example. So vicinity isn't really a good word here. What can we say instead? We can say, for instance, camping in local, we could say sites, right? So campsite. So in local sites or staying in hostels with a group of tourists managed by indigenous people. Okay, listen. Indigenous people means the people who were originally from a place. It doesn't mean locals, because not all locals are indigenous. And so just use the word locals. Managed by locals may result in beneficial experiences. Also, collocations. Think about it. Beneficial experiences. What other adjective could we use? I would just go with valuable experiences instead of beneficial, because beneficial, even though it makes sense, I mean, any English speaker would understand what you mean if you tell them a beneficial experience. But they're more likely to say, oh, do you mean like a valuable experience? So you want to go with the common phrase, the thing that most English speakers are familiar with. And so the correct collocation, or an appropriate collocation, would be valuable experience. All right, so we have covered one reason why the writer believes that tourists should not stay in hotels. Number 2, on the other hand, not staying in a hotel will bring much more exposure to the country's native people. Okay, this is odd. It seems like this is a second reason, but it starts with on the other hand. So this is not an appropriate linker. So how could you start your paragraph? You could say, secondly, moreover. I'm going to go with moreover here. So moreover, not staying in a hotel will bring much more exposure to the country's native people. Okay, yeah, you could say that. Bring exposure to the country's native people. It's not wrong. Maybe it could have been expressed differently, but it's not wrong. As a result, tourists can have a first-hand experience of interacting with other individuals' customs and languages through alternative accommodations. Okay, let's see. Tourists can have a first-hand experience. First-hand could be written both as one word, or you could hyphenate. I prefer the hyphenated version. That's just a preference. So have a first-hand experience of interacting with other individuals' customs. So we could say, again, instead of other individuals, because other individuals means like people from other countries, which you could also meet in a hotel. But I think what Omid is saying is you can mingle with the locals, right? So again, let's say first-hand experience of interacting with the areas, right? If you don't want to say locals, even though I think you could have said locals again. But with the area's customs and we could say languages, in case more than one language is spoken in the area, through alternative accommodation. First of all, I think it's already established by this point that these benefits would arise from one's choice not to stay at a hotel. But alternative accommodation is just not a very common expression, and so it might confuse, which is why I'm getting rid of it here. Otherwise, they may lose this situation since many hotels' receptionists are bilingual, and also they will see fewer native people. Now, this to me seems a little cyclical because I think we already established that they would see fewer native people. And so, is this really adding anything to the argument? No, I think that's just redundant. And otherwise, which means if they don't stay in a hotel, is that what it means? Otherwise, they may lose this situation. So it is. So tourists can have a firsthand experience of interacting with the area's customs and languages. Otherwise, they may lose this, again, situation. I don't think that's the right word. They may lose this opportunity since many hotel receptionists are bilingual. And so there's an assumption here. The assumption is that the hotel receptionists are the only people you see inside a hotel, which is not true. And it's a very strong claim, right? To say that, if you stay in a hotel, the only person you're going to deal with is the receptionist, and the receptionists speak English. Therefore, you're not going to be taking in the rich culture. So you have to be a little bit more careful in the types of claims that you make in your writing. Finally, so we've covered two reasons so far. Now we have the third reason. Finally, it is thought by some that staying in hotels is more convenient, and visitors may confront some hardships, such as lack of suitable facilities provided by luxury hotels. Okay, it is thought by some. Okay, why would you say it is thought by some when you can say some think that, or some believe that? I think isn't really a good verb here. So some believe, finally, some believe that. Okay, and it seems that you're addressing the other side. So on the other hand, would have made more sense here. On the other hand, some believe that staying in hotels is more convenient, and visitors may confront some hardships, such as lack of suitable facilities provided by luxury hotels. I don't get it. If they stay in the hotel or if they don't? If they don't, right? But your sentence starts with staying in hotels is more convenient. And visitors may confront some hardships if they don't go to a hotel, right? So we need to make this clear. And by avoiding hotels, visitors may confront some hardships. And then such as lack of suitable facilities provided by luxury hotels. And then again, it's not about luxury hotels. It just might be a regular hotel. That's another assumption that's not in the question. Be very careful about making such assumptions. So visitors may confront some hardships, such as lack of suitable facilities provided by hotels. There. However, I opine that dealing with these probable difficulties is worth experiencing due to the aforementioned benefits. Okay, so this is a concession paragraph. So a concession paragraph is a paragraph where you start off with an idea from the other side, you explain it, and then towards the end of that paragraph, you refute that idea. But you see, it has to be a little bit more complicated than saying, I opine that dealing with these probable difficulties is worth the experience. You need to elaborate this a bit further. And I opine that. I know it's a valid structure, and I've heard this from students, and I'm like, but I've seen it here, I've seen it there. You see, guys, it's not just about using a structure that's grammatically correct. It's also about that structure going well with the style of writing that you are aiming for. And so if you have certain mistakes in your writing, and then all of a sudden you're saying something like, I opine that, this is going to stick out like a sore thumb. And so you want that writing to go together well. So instead of saying, I opine that, just say, I feel that. However, I feel that dealing with these probable difficulties is worth experiencing. I would say worth not experiencing, because you would have to say experiencing something. So you could say it's worth the experience due to the aforementioned benefits. Okay, all right. Now, about the concession paragraph, again, allow me to explain. Concession paragraphs, guys, they need to provide and present a very nuanced and a new way of looking at it. You can't just say, here's what other people think, but I think they're wrong. You have to say why they're wrong, right? So a little bit more elaborative when you're trying to write a concession paragraph. All right, finally, the conclusion. In conclusion, I do believe knowing the people and the country once traveling overseas. Okay, once means like, as soon as you travel. That's not what you mean. You mean while, right? So knowing people and the country while traveling overseas is more likely by not staying in hotels, which I think is just a very indirect way of saying something that could have been expressed more simply. So let's see. I do believe staying in hotels would deprive, right? It's a nice verb here. Would deprive visitors from getting practice what you preach. Even though I was going to say getting a taste of, which is an idiomatic expression. And so get can be used in idiomatic expressions. But, practice what you preach. So I'm not going to use that. So staying in hotels would deprive visitors from gaining a true or from truly appreciating. That's even better. From truly appreciating the local, we can say, culture. And what does the question say? Let's take what the question says. So it's not a good way to know the country and its people. So it's not about culture. I'm just going to say the local people. Do you appreciate the people? No, let's say appreciating the visited country. Yeah, visitors from truly appreciating the country they are visiting and its people. Okay, just to be faithful to the question. So you see, this is an easier way of expressing the same idea. Don't go for a more complex or difficult way of expressing the idea. You want to get from point A to point B in as short a route as possible. So would deprive, and then here we have which reduces further interactions with the new atmosphere. So they are visiting and its people, and then you just have to review the ideas. Let me rewrite this. So staying in hotels would deprive visitors from truly appreciating the country they are visiting as its people, because now let's see what the first main idea is. It would not allow us to local areas and explore the environment, right? And also the second idea was that we wouldn't see the people. Okay, so maybe we can say because it would lessen the likelihood of tourists exploring the local sites and we can say socializing or mingling, we could say, and mingling or socializing or exchanging or engaging in exchanges, right? Engaging, I like that one, in exchanges with the local people, right? Or we could say with the people who live there. Okay? There. Let's read the conclusion one more time. So, in conclusion, I do believe staying in hotels would deprive visitors from truly appreciating the country they're visiting and its people, because it would lessen the likelihood of tourists exploring the local sites and engaging in exchanges or in meaningful exchanges with the people who live there. Okay, all right. So I hope that you guys found this writing correction episode useful. I specifically think there's a recurring theme, and that's about choice of words. You got to be very careful with the choice of words. And also, if you're aiming to write something like a concession paragraph, you have to be very, very careful how you do that, and be very mindful of the way you use linkers and signaling expressions. Okay, all right, let's take a look at the topic for next week, guys. The topic for next week is, in some countries, children are involved in making school rules. Some people disagree with such a policy, claiming that only adults should make these rules. Do the advantages of such a policy outweigh its disadvantages? Okay, guys, I hope you liked this one. And as always, you can submit your sample essays to info@fasttrackesl.com. Again, the email is info@fasttrackesl.com. Who knows? Maybe your writing will be selected for our next episode. Thanks as always for watching, guys. See you in the next one.